Ms. Farmer.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Dr. King. Ms. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Van Hise.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. And as required under law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided via email and/or fax to the Times, the Ledger, the Public Library, and has been filed with the municipal clerk. This notice was provided prior to the 48 hours required by the Open Public Meetings Act, and the board reserves the right to limit public discussion of personnel items and other matters as defined in the law. With that, we will turn to flag salute.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome all. Thank you for attending our board meeting. We have no student representative reports this evening, nor the next one, and then they will be getting ready to resume because school is right on the horizon, which will be a great thing. Recognitions and acknowledgements. None. With that, we'll turn to the adoption of the minutes. These would be the regular and executive session minutes from our July 14th meeting. If there are no changes or amendments, if somebody would like to move those.
So moved.
Second.
With a motion and a second, Tom, whenever you're ready.
Ms. Bose.
Yes.
Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Mrs. Grover.
Yes.
Ms. Farmer.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And just a reminder to all my fellow board members, I forgot and would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody and just ask that they put on airplane mode, their cell phones on airplane mode so we don't get feedback. So promised Tom I'd do the PSA. So that's superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. We just finished a very successful extended school year program. I want to thank our staff, our administrators, and our students who made a summer program a very positive experience. It was so wonderful to see our students and staff back in school on a consistent basis. Many staff, students, and families shared that this increased their excitement to have us all back full-time in a few weeks for the 2021-22 school year. It certainly enhanced my enthusiasm. It's been a very busy summer, working hard to hire and to plan to ensure that we're ready for our students on September 8th. As always, first and foremost, we're focusing our planning on the health, safety, and well-being of our staff, students, and families. From arrival to dismissal, to our classrooms, to lunch and recess, to our related arts classes, and everywhere in between, we have plans to keep all staff and students safe and minimize the opportunity for the spread of COVID. We realize that our plans have to be fluid. Things are changing on a daily basis, and we have to be ready to change, and we have to plan for many different scenarios. Our goal, as we said in the spring, is to provide in-person learning to as many students as possible, 5 days a week for a full day. With that goal, there's some changes that we have to make. We have to limit visitors to our schools. We have to limit large events, assemblies, field trips, and gatherings, especially when Lawrence is in a moderate or high-risk level. We are going to have virtual back-to-school nights. And it's not that we don't want parents and families in our schools. We value our parents and families, our caregivers. More than ever last year, we saw how critical it is to have all involved in helping with the success for our children and our district. What we're trying to do is simply maximize our chance to be open every day, to have our students here every day, to have our staff here every day in school, and to minimize the risk of spread of COVID and any of its variants. With that, we are enforcing the governor's mask mandate. It's a binding mandate, and like all other directives that come from the governor and the Department of Ed, Like them or not, we have to follow them. We can't pick and choose which directives we want to follow. There are legal consequences if we do not follow such mandates. So, everyone in our schools, staff, students, families, are required to wear masks unless that person has a documented medical condition that prohibits that person from wearing a mask. That documentation must be given to the district and then approved by our district physician. We will enforce that mask mandate like we do with any other rule in our schools. We will treat it like any other discipline infraction. We will involve parents and caregivers, and depending on the outcome, it may result in a student being removed from our school. My hope is that we do not come to that standstill. Like every other district in New Jersey, we must follow the directive. I know that it's a hot topic for some. However, since January, we've had literally thousands of students in our staff and in our schools. January through August, thousands, with a mask requirement. And we did not have one issue with a staff member or a student having a problem with that mask. Nor did we have one child on his own refuse to wear it. In fact, many days when I drove to school, I saw most students walking to school wearing a mask where it's not even mandated. At this point, also, per the governor, we are not allowed to offer remote learning for our students. We do have plans to support our students who may need to quarantine. As the COVID cases increase and the variants are changing, it appears that the numbers of students and staff that need to be out, who need to be absent for a quarantine, is going to increase, and it's on the rise. And we have made plans to prepare for that to keep those students connected. It's going to be a challenging year. And as I said before, we need to be fluid, we need to be flexible, and we need to make the best decisions that are in the best interest of our entire student population. As I've shared many times, we need your support as it takes all of us working together to provide excellence for our students. Lawrence is a very special place with amazing students, wonderful families, a fantastic and caring staff, excellent administrators, and a very smart, dedicated board. This pandemic has been awful in so many ways, and we still have a long way to go with it. Our students and our community need us now more than ever together. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Secretary's report.
Following up on what Ross says, we are extremely busy with our reopening plans. I've had the opportunity to meet with all of our principals to ask them what they need, because as Ross said, we're committed to opening full-time, 5 days a week, and in-person instruction. At this point, our principals have everything they need to open up right now, but I have to emphasize that it takes a toll, and our people are spending hours and hours to make sure things go right. Things that used to take minutes, such as planning lunch, takes hours on end to make sure that we have scenarios ready for days when it rains or for delivery to classrooms and then clean up afterwards. And so everyone is focused on making it work. I see no reason why our efforts won't be successful. I believe that we will. Each school is doing something just a little bit different because their facilities are different. They've changed their schedules where necessary to accommodate social distancing. They've opened up rooms in their building that weren't previously opened for settings such as lunch or recess for that matter. And everyone is thinking differently with the main goal of bringing everyone back 5 days a week full-time and in-person instruction. There are alternative plans when we have to take care of students who are quarantined and using the technology. We talked at length about how when we purchased the technology, we wouldn't let it be for a single purpose, that we would try to capitalize on it, and those things are being done in terms of with the plans for its use. We, of course, are doing things such as preparing our schools with PPE, whether that's the sanitizer or masks, or also our HEPA filters that we have in each one of our classrooms and offices to filter air. we do get questions from parents. There's a myriad of viewpoints about the topic of reopening. There are many people who are very concerned and ask questions such as, what are our ventilation systems capable of doing? Is there exchange of fresh air? Is there filtration? And we've answered those questions, and I hope people continue to ask those questions, because it's our goal to make people feel comfortable and that they want to be back here, and we want them back. And so we're doing what we can. Of course, transportation is in the throes of putting together routes, mostly completed at this time, and we'll be sending out bus passes in a couple weeks, and we'll be ready for all our kids to come back. As a follow-up to some comments that were made here in the board meeting, just prior to this and the one before that, Ross and I met with the chief of police to discuss the crossing at Eggerts Crossing Road and 206. And so the chief has gotten back to us, and we have some things to consider, how to staff that location, and we'll be bringing a plan to the Finance Committee in the near future. And also, we'll be sending out, as per the request of some parents, communications as to where the crossing guards are. Under this new arrangement, people will be walking that hadn't walked previously, and so our transportation department will send out that communication so that people know exactly where the guards are posted and where they can cross safely. And again, finally, not to stand strictly on policy, but where I can, if I find open seats on buses, I'm going to try to fill them and be as fair as possible, and I'll bring that to finance too, to determine how we will do that in some measure of formality, yet at the same time without the restrictions, if we will, of policy locking us in. Some follow-up: the LMS asbestos abatement project is completed, and we are on in that building right now to installing the stair tower doors that the board approved the contract for. We are currently out to bid. The notice to bidders is in the paper for our 2 photovoltaic systems, which is solar, one on the administration building and the second installation on the maintenance building. As a follow-up to that, the solar photovoltaic systems generate what's called solar renewable energy certificates. The week before last, we sold almost 1,000 certificates for $234,000. And in our next sale, we will break the $4 million mark in terms of aggregate sales. And so that initiative continues to pay for itself. On the agenda tonight is a motion to move forward with the roof replacement at the Slackwood School. You'll see that motion has multiple parts to it: to submit a school facilities project, to withdraw funds from our capital reserve. We're not going to bond this project. We're going to pay for it with our reserves that we make in terms of deposits. The capital reserve is a place where occasionally we will make deposits so that we don't have to go out and bond for all the facilities, upgrades that we make. Some other information, follow-up for parents who have come to the board meeting regarding school times. The YMCA, capital YMCA, they lease facilities from us. They don't work for us. They do not provide a program for us, but they do lease facilities from the school district for the purpose of providing an after-school program. The Y will open up its program this year. They will be active at every one of our 5 elementary schools. So that's the 4 PK3s and Lawrence Intermediate School. They will also have before care programs at all of our elementary schools, with the exception of Slackwood at this time. It's not to say that we won't have a program at Slackwood. We may. We just don't have enough interest yet. But if we have enough interest, we'll open up there. Also, right now, our audit is underway for the year that just closed on June 30th past. And so you'll be hearing from our auditor with that report sometime in October. And finally, I want to thank the transportation staff for a very successful ESY. Compliment, of course, all of our instructional staff. Thank our custodial staff and our maintenance staff for getting our buildings ready for our kids. And our technology staff, that entire crew that I just mentioned works tirelessly, and they always keep our kids in their forefront. And so many thanks to them. That sums up my report.
Great, thank you very much. President's report. It is with great sadness that we accept the resignation of Dr. John Dauber from the board. He's got various things going on, and so he unfortunately tendered his resignation, so we extend our sincerest appreciation for all of his efforts. He has been an immense asset to this board and this community, and we'll certainly miss him, although we know he's not going too far. But that has also created a vacancy on our board. We did publish a notice of that last week, and I just want to bring it to everybody's attention here. If anybody is interested in filling that vacancy, that we just ask that you submit a letter of interest. They are due to Tom's office on next Friday, or the 20th. That will give us an opportunity to collate those, distribute those to the board, and then we are having our board meeting on the 25th. That's a Wednesday evening, and it is our intention to actually hold candidate interviews. They will be open session, but we'll handle candidate interviews, and I would anticipate that the board would move forward with a nomination and an appointment to fulfill that vacancy at that time. This seat will actually run through the end of next year, so that the successful candidate or the successful individual will actually stand for in next year's election. So it's essentially about a little less than a year and a half opportunity. So there's that. With John's departure, we just have 2 announcements regarding our committees. John was the chair of our CIAPD committee, and Patricia Farmer has graciously stepped up and expressed her willingness to chair that. So she will be our new chair for CIAPD. And with all of the work as we move forward with trying to get schools opened and everything that's coming up, Pepper Evans is actually willing to take on an additional committee assignment so that we have a full committee, and we'll go, and then that way we won't overburden our new appointee, and then we'll fulfill John's other responsibilities when we get them seated. So that's all I have this evening. Committee reports, community relations.
Yes, community relations did meet. The date was? We met on August 5th at 8:30 in attendance. It was August 5th? I feel like it was more recent than that.
Nope, that's right. I just correct on Thursday.
Thursday, August 5th. Great. Okay. In attendance, Ashaya Draper, Ross Kaysen, Linda Mithog, Greg Johnson, Patricia Farmer, Joy Scott, and myself. I'd invite you to look at the Lawrence Township School District website and notice that there's been new information added to the board section of that website. Thank you, Ashaya, for helping the community relations in that endeavor. So in our intent to be more transparent and to increase the flow of communication from us to the community and from the community back to us, we are further developing the board section of the district website. The board took on 2 board goals last February. We've developed them into action plans, and you can see the content of the action plans, and we will update it as we complete some of the items on there. So Shai, I'm not certain that that made it this week, or just yet. I believe the action plans are forthcoming, say, within a week or so. Additionally, we are looking towards holding our second community relations public meeting. The first one was last spring and focused on mental health needs of our students. And the one this fall, we are working towards joining efforts with Dr. Kaysen and the Strategic Planning Committee, and to use our community relations to jumpstart some of the conversations there. So that is more to come. And finally, the board here has completed the board's self-evaluation. The data has been forwarded to us, and we need to now determine how we will review that information together and what action we'll take on it. Again, more forthcoming. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Negotiations Committee, no report this evening. Equity Committee,
No report this evening.
Guidance and Mental Health,
Guidance and Mental Health will be meeting next week.
thank you. School Boards,
Okay, I did meet with Warren County, and the topic was board meetings and how to communicate with the public. And that was about a 2-hour meeting, and it was really interesting to see, because we were virtual, we could be from all over New Jersey, which was exciting to me, because to hear the different conversations that went on at different school boards, the one concern we had was the hybrid model for the board members. They're working out the kinks, because having people in front of you in the large auditorium, and they had the screen behind, which I was virtual, they couldn't see when the raised hand, because the screen behind them was showing the people attending virtually. So we worked out the kinks with that, and that's, I think, how we're going to be running our county meetings throughout the state for the next school year. And let me quickly pull to the next one. County Association Leadership Meeting will be August 31st. That'll be 6:15 to 7:30, and the topic will be announced then. Candidate briefing for incoming candidates that will be on this current ballot will be for Central Jersey, October 12th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. It's virtual, and anyone that is running really does need to see what the role of a board member actually is. Not what you think it may be, because we all found out it's very different when you're sitting here, what you're held to with ethics and policies, that it's very different. So you really do need to spend the time finding out exactly what you're signing up for when you're going to run. And this year's workshop, usually it was in Atlantic City. This year it'll also be virtual, Tuesday the 26th in October to Thursday the 28th. And I think that's it for New Jersey school boards.
thank you. Ed Foundation,
We did not meet.
and with John's departure, we have no council report unless somebody attended the recent council meeting. Growth and Redevelopment,
Yes, the Growth and Redevelopment Committee met last night, shortened meeting. It was in person for the first time in over a year. We had a presentation by Captain Paul. I'm not sure if everybody knows Captain Paul, but they serve the best ice cream in the township, and we're very pleasantly surprised to hear that his business is doing well. And I also learned that folks who have moved out of the area have a fond memory of Captain Paul, and when they return, they stop by Captain Paul's before going to visit relatives. So that was quite interesting. And hopefully in September, we will start back with in-person meetings as well. Thank you.
thank you. Direct Link,
We did not meet.
Partnership,
Partnership did not meet. We're scheduled to meet on the 17th of this month. I will be attending a board meeting for Every Child Valued.
great, thank you. VOTEC
We did not meet.
and Special Education.
Special education did not meet.
Review of communications. Do we have any communications? No? So this will be our first opportunity for public input. Just as a reminder, we'll just ask you to come up individually, give us your name and address just for the record. And we do enforce the 3-minute time limit, so Michelle kindly does that. So we'll open it up for public input.
Hi, I'm Patricia Johnson. I'm running for Assembly in District 15, which is Lawrence. Lawrence is one of them. I'm here tonight not to go for, not to go against, but to represent the people, the children of Lawrence Township. We're having a conflict. I know that, you know that. People want masks, people don't want masks. The first thing I'm going to say is you say that you have to do what the governor does. We pay your salary. Lawrence Township pays your salary. The taxpayers pay your salary. You need to work for the children of Lawrence Township and the parents of Lawrence Township. You need to represent us when we're not happy or when we are happy. So therefore, when you say that something is not good, you need documentation that it's not good. If you find out that it is good, you need to represent us by taking it forward. Dr. Dan Scott just did a presentation in Indiana. He now has held up in everything in Indiana. I was able to contact him this week. He does not believe the need of masks. He has documentation. I have his complete paperwork for it. I'd love to pass that on to you so that you can read it. You can decide after reading it, he's willing to come here. He's willing to talk to Lawrence Township. I wanted him to come here tonight. He could not. He's done a lot. He's got a lot of information, and I think it's worthwhile for the township to read it and make a decision whether when they say that children need to be masked, that they're sure that that needs to be done. You hear this, you hear that, but no documentation has been given to any parent here. This is information that I'm going to give you as well. There's 15 copies. This is about why the masks are harmful, how it is physically, biologically, and immunologically difficult for the children to wear masks. I think we need to think about it. The biggest thing, though, that I'm here for tonight is because I believe that if we give up one of our civil liberties, we are in jeopardy of giving them all up. We need to fight for what we believe in. We need to fight for what our forefathers fought for, and that's for the ability to keep what we have, the freedom of choice. We have parents that do not want their children masked. We have parents that do not want vaccination, and they have that as a right. It's a civil liberty, and we need to respect that. The township needs to respect that. And if that means finding a way to make it work, we need to do that. It doesn't matter whether I think it's right. It doesn't matter whether a neighbor thinks it's right. That is their civil liberty. Because what happens next when they say a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child can no longer go to school and study what they want to study, that it's been taken away from them?
Okay,
We have
can you
rights.
wrap up? It's been 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, I'm
Oh,
going
you
to
could
get
have wrapped up, but it's okay.
Yes, and we'll make sure that they get distributed. Thank you.
It's not distributed, this is all.
Oh, that's just the one document?
That's
Okay.
all his, that's one copy, that's his.
Good.
They're all studies.
And that will be, for the board members, that will be available in Tom's office, and so anybody can just contact Tom and make
To anybody
arrangements
that's here, I have the paperwork on masking. If you'd like it, I'd like you to have it. I'll give it to anybody in the audience with masks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Hi, Rosario Colazzo, 44 Franklin Corner Road. I'd like to know how the district would handle religious exemptions when it comes to the masks, the shots, and the testing for COVID.
Handle, what exemptions?
Religious?
As far as I'm aware of
Religious.
it, there are no religious exemptions from those requirements. So
Excuse me?
I don't believe that there are religious exemptions from those requirements.
So you'd accept them, or they wouldn't be accepted?
They would, I don't believe that they would be accepted, unless you're aware of it, John.
Why don't, good evening, ma'am.
Hi.
We recognize your right to speak and be heard. And what I would ask, is she paused?
Yes,
Maybe
I
take
paused
your
her time. Yep, of course.
Please take your time and say what you'd like to say, ask what you want to ask. We will respond as appropriate when you're done. All right?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. My other question is the district following OSHA regulations when it comes to masking and the school buildings, like in the classrooms? Like, that's my other question. I wanted to know why the district can't stay mask optional regardless of what the governor says. There's, Governor DeSantis went against the president and is being applauded because he stood up for the rights of his people in his state. So why can't we in New Jersey, even Lawrence Township, be the first district to go against the governor? Again, he works for us. We don't work for him. He's supposed to do what's good for us and our children. Also, I wanted to know what proof the Board of Education or the district has on masking and how it prevents COVID from spreading. And also if liability insurance is going to be increased, since the children will be in school for 7 to 8 hours with these masks, which they haven't been all of last year. How will that be handled? And my last question is, because the masks, the testing, and the shot are all under the emergency use authorization, which means they're experimental, and we have the right not to consent to these things, did the nurses in the schools compile a report based on the mask issues that occurred during the school year for the children that did attend school? And do you have the results of that study? I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah.
Good evening again. So I'll address a number of the things that you said. I'll start with the going against the governor. Those were your words. And I want to be clear, this Board of Education didn't make a decision about this executive order, other than following this executive order, as every elected official up here and administrator has a responsibility to. And in fact, if they don't, just like any county official, any other elected official, anyone with a responsibility to follow an executive order which has legal weight, they're subject to a disorderly person's charge, which carries with it potential imprisonment and a fine. That's the law. So there's not an opt-out. It's not optional. You obviously spoke very eloquently. The person in front of you, the candidate, she spoke eloquently. I have no doubt your friends here are probably going to speak eloquently as well. This decision was not made here. This executive order was not issued here.
I understand that.
Ma'am, I did not interrupt you, other than to ask you to complete what you had to say. Please show me the same courtesy, all right? Thank you. If you want to be heard on this, respectfully, we suggest go talk to the governor. Talk to your elected officials. This is not a local issue. This is a state issue, all right? Governor DeSantis made very different decisions. You cited him. He has executive authority over the state of Florida. He has no authority over the state of New Jersey. It's the way our republic works, whether we like it or not, right? You made a comment about religious exemption and religious exemption to vaccination. There is no mandate that students be vaccinated.
Not yet.
Whatever's going to happen in the future is going to happen in the future. This district is not mandating vaccination. And if you're opposed to vaccination, as you've indicated, again, you have a right to speak. That right is sacred, and we honored it tonight. We heard you, right? And you have a right to go to Trenton and be heard as well. So this issue of vaccination is nothing that's before this board. All right? Ma'am, please, let me finish.
But you're not answering my question.
Ma'am, I'm answering.
I asked about the religious
Ma'am,
exemption for the mask, the shot, and all three. But you're not answering my question.
So, yeah. So we're going to move on. I mean, you've had your time.
You didn't answer my question.
He was still talking, so we're done. We appreciate your
We're going to move on to the next. Is anybody else want to be heard? If not, we're going to move on from public comment. Okay.
Hi, my name is Hannah. As someone who went to this school, as someone who has family in this school, I'd just like to say I'm very thankful that you guys are enforcing the masks. I worked in a hospital at the height of the pandemic, you know, as much as I could. So I've seen firsthand, you know, how bad this disease can be, even if, you know, they are children. As much as we think that it doesn't affect children, it absolutely does. I think that if you're not terrified for your kids, you're not paying attention. So I'd just like to say, thank you guys for enforcing the masks. I do think it's very important. I do think it's helpful. I do think it's a safety issue. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I'm Rebecca Thompson. I live on Fairbanks Place. I also want to say thank you to everyone. I know that you are doing your best in a terrible situation. I appreciate you trying to keep the kids and the teachers safe. I think that we should be grateful that we live in a district that has the resources to provide, safety items, cleaning, air filters. We are very lucky to live here in a place that can do that, because not every place can do that. I'm also aware that the teachers still pay for a lot of their own supplies, but overall, we are very lucky. And I have spoken to many other parents and also children, and I think that most parents would agree that they would do anything to keep their children safe. And wearing a mask does not hurt people. And I've talked to people who have kids in preschool, 4-year-olds who have spent the last 18 months wearing a mask the whole day that they're at school, and they're fine. You say, hey, you're Spider-Man today. Awesome. The kid wears the mask. So just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Teresa Oration. I live at 147 Hughes Avenue. I'm on my second go-round with kids in the district. I went to school here myself. My kids went to school here, and we're raising 3 granddaughters. I am actually pro-vaccine, so I wouldn't even go there. But there's a couple things, because I haven't been to a board meeting before, that I am curious about or concerned about. The middle school lunches, lunches are going to be held in the cafeteria, the library, like what spaces? Okay, and then the other thing is, I missed the meeting about Eggers Crossing. I wish I had been here. So I'll have to do some research to find out what you guys are looking at, because I definitely witnessed, it's awful. And saying about kids wearing masks, they're probably the school that has the least amount of kids wearing masks when they come out of school. That's the first thing that goes down, and they're going in groups of 10 and 20 if you've got a bunch of neighborhood kids. But bottom line is, I think you've done a good job too. But I'm concerned about the space issues. I'm going to have 2 at the middle school this year, and I'm just curious how things are going to work.
So I absolutely encourage you to call the principal at the middle school. I know she's here, but and ask those questions, because she can answer them specifically about
Yeah.
lunch at the middle school.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, board members. I'm Dr. Tabitha Bellamy McKinley. I live at H12 Shirley Lane in Lawrenceville. And my question is not about masks, because I understand Governor Murphy, I work for him, don't have any control over what he mandates. My question is about lunches and pertaining to how lunches will be served, how they'll be distributed. I mean, I know that's an area of great anxiety for a number of the kids. So I just wondered if we have any update pertaining to when we would get communication regarding lunches so that parents can plan accordingly.
That's a great question, and it does look different in every school. So our food services is now on the round meeting with our principals, so we should be able to put something out in a couple of weeks about that for each school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further? Seeing none, we will move on to board discussion and work session items. We have none this evening, so we'll open it back up to public input.
Hi, good evening. My name's Hillary Jersey. I live in Lawrenceville. I'm going to bring up the mask issue. They took away the district's own decision to make it mask optional. The governor has claimed the authority to do so. There's still many leadership roles you can play. You're elected to serve all the children of Lawrence Township School System. And I'm asking you to be a voice for our community to the state leaders, including our state assembly representatives and our state senator. Connect with other school districts who are trying to make masks optional, and I'm happy to connect you with a list so you have a starting point. Contact the governor and Department of Education and let them know there are parents not going to consent to the masking of their children in September. You can all help problem solve this together and provide an in-person, mask-optional instructional environment. I have some questions for you to process so that before the start of the school year, it'll all be smoother for all of us. How are you going to keep our kids safe from inhaling their own toxins at a rate suitable to OSHA guidelines? How are you going to handle medical exemptions? It's not the place of the education system to decide an exemption written by a doctor is to be accepted or not. That is the expertise of the medical doctor who knows my child and his health. How are you going to handle religious exemptions? This is for masks. I'm not on vaccines. This is on masks. Again, it is not the place of the education system to decide what is a personal statement of faith. It is not an option to deny it. When students arrive to school without masks, whose parents have submitted a letter of non-consent to the masks for their children, how will they be welcomed into their classrooms? As you may be aware, there's already pending litigation in the U.S. District Court of New Jersey intended to prohibit the governor, Department of Education, and Department of Health from issuing future mask mandates. I'm happy to send you an email with the case number for your reference. This is not a one-size-fits-all policy when it comes to masks or any other health recommendation. My family complied the last school year, and we're not doing it again. Other health issues arose for my children that are easily avoided by not wearing the mask. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm coming back. I was cut short. I realize that none of this is on any of you. This is what's going on in our township, and we are just looking for direction and for help to take it forward. Families are unhappy. There are families that are happy. But it's up to us. It's up to me as a future politician. It's up to you as somebody that's running the school, that when you're giving information or you hear information, that you become the voice. I am the voice of the people. I have to speak for the people that come to me, and you need to speak to the people that you need to speak to that are giving you mandates. If I give you literature, and in that literature, you can read it and see that something that you've heard is wrong, people believe that masks are right, but when you take documentation and you take reports that are documented, studies, these are studies that have been done, you need to look at them and decide if what you are asking of the people in your township is really what is best. I can't make that decision up for you. I can't make it up for the other people, but it's up to us to look at it and make those decisions. I'll be more than happy to sit down with you guys, go over the studies, and go further with those studies to see if we can make the people in Lawrence Township happy. There's a way. There is a way. We just got to figure out which way is right. So I'm asking you to please take that documentation, because it's a study that was well done. It's being looked at in Indiana. It's being looked at all over. It took me time to get it. I printed it out. The doctor's willing to come here. Let him come and talk to you. Make a decision that's based on fact, not opinion. Because right now, I don't know what fact you have in front of you, because I know that parents have asked for facts and they don't have them. I'm trying to help you to give that to them. So I apologize if I'm creating waves. I'm just trying to support people that have come to me and asked for my help, because that's what my job is, and I believe that's what your job is. So thank you, and I wish you the best of luck. It's not easy. I realize that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to our action items. Personnel.
Okay, personnel did meet on August 4th, 8:15 a.m. in attendance. Ross, Sean Fry, Kevin, Michelle Bowes, Pepper Evans, and myself. And we met till 9:45. The staffing update, we talked about the school nurse, which you'll find on new business. I'm happy to celebrate that. Recommendations for special education at the middle school and Eldridge Park. Positions were discussed. The high school assistant principal, athletic director interviews have been held, and we have an amazing group of people that have been moved and forwarded to the final rounds, and we're excited to see how it's all gonna work out. We talked about the title of Dr. Williams, and good news, Ashaya Draper has been named the webmaster for CJ Pride. Congratulations. So that's gonna be awesome. And the LTPSA contract is in the finalization stages. Hopefully that'll be done quickly. Staff return, we talked about full day, first day, no remote options, with Dr. Kaysen just spoke about. And we talked about the need, if it comes to quarantining, how we're gonna handle that. Staff sick time. And then the last bit of information we discussed were policies, and we had no recommendations for changes, so we'll pass those on. And with that, I would like to move, I wrote my notes, I just have to get to them. P1 through P44, please.
Second. And with a motion and a second, Tom, whenever you're ready.
Who seconded that, please?
Joyce.
Was that, Ms. Scott?
Joyce, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Bose?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And I just want to extend the board's appreciation to all of the members that are handling our personnel items. As Joanne said, that was an extremely lengthy meeting, so certainly our props go out to Sean for all of his work. Ross, all of our administrators, there are lots of positions to be filled, and they have been doing a nonstop and fantastic job of getting through the candidates. And it just, at this time of year, it's always busy, made exceptionally more so this year with the number of moves and the positional moves that we have. So I just wanted to call that out because they've been doing fantastic. So with that, CIAPD.
CIAPD did meet Tuesday, August 3rd. In attendance, Ross Kaysen, Andrew Zuckerman, Patricia Farmer, and myself. Back to school nights were discussed. Principals have met to plan them. There will be virtual back to school nights. Parents will still have the opportunity to meet new teachers. It's possible that there will be some outside events to kick off the school year. That has yet to be determined. Summer programs were reported on. At the time, they said they were going well. At this point now, I believe they're all completed. We had extended school year programs at Ben Franklin and at the high school, Eagles program at Slackwood, summer STEAM enrichment program at Slackwood, destinations program for at-risk middle school students, and there were 4 additional programs held at the high school. So clearly the district has been pretty vibrant throughout the summer. The American Tutor is an outside organization that is currently able to provide tutoring, one-on-one tutoring for invited students. This is through the CARES funding. This will continue through September. Approximately 70 students have been invited. At this point, 11 have said yes, so we're hopeful that with some more follow-up, we can communicate to the students that have been invited the benefits that are there for them through the American Tutor Program. The share time schedule for the vocational school is being addressed by Dave Adams and Cliff Williams at the high school. Given the change in the class schedule at the high school, they are working with VOTEC to assure that VOTEC students will be able to meet their instructional programs at both institutions. Professional development is being planned to start off the school year. Specifically at the high school, all content area teachers will get specific training in their content regarding planning and implementing instruction in an extended block schedule. All of this will be done on September 2nd September 3rd, teachers will have the opportunity to work with their colleagues on the same on the same areas of instructional programming for extended block. Grants the CIAPD committee was informed about some grant funding and changes in grant. Some changes from targeted assistant funding at Slackwood to a school-wide Title I funding program. The second CARES funding of $1.2 million is being, expenditures for that have been identified. Shade structures at each of the elementary school are in the works. Unfortunately, that requires approval from the state. There are some accessibility issues, internet issues, electricity. So it appears that the shade structures are likely to be in place in either spring of 2022 or fall of 2022. And that's all I have. With that, I move IS1 through IS8.
Is there a second?
Second.
And with a motion and a second, Tom, whenever you're ready.
Sorry, thank you. Ms. Bose?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Finance.
Finance met on Friday, August 6th, from 8 to 9:15. In attendance were Kevin Van Hise, Greg Johnson, Tom Eldridge, Ross Cason. In addition to what Tom already told you about the architect's contracts addressing the roof at Slackwood, we talked about security lighting in outdoor classrooms. We have upcoming bids on solar at the admin building and HVAC controls that sense when someone's in the room, so they shut themselves off when the room is empty. And we talked about the removal of asbestos at LMS, and that was the abatement in the crawl space and the work on the stairs. We also talked about strategic plan proposals to take us into the future, and we talked about the township received a grant for safe routes to schools, and the township identified an area to address near the Starbucks. And with that, I would like to move SBM 1 through 12.
Second.
And with a motion and a second, Tom, whenever you're ready.
Ms. Bose?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Turn to our last opportunity for public input. I'm sorry, this is, if you have, well, we have new business items after public input, so.
One of the things that I would love to see put in place, I'm Teresa Ration, 147 Hughes Avenue, is I think it's really nice that all of the AP students have summer work to do, like mandatory summer work, mandatory summer reading, et cetera, et cetera. There is no mandatory reading for the kids that aren't AP students, or mandatory work, especially at the high school level, middle school level. Something's got to give. I know a lot of other school districts that do have absolutely 100% mandatory. 3 books, turn in the book reports that in September. I'd love to see something change in Lawrence as far as, because only the AP kids, it's like the other kids are second class, and I don't like that. I think that's very discriminatory, actually.
Thank you. Anyone else? So we'll move on to new business. Michelle?
Yes.
New business, we have some substitute teachers, some appointments, extending summer transportation, bus aides, and some EDPs for positions at the middle school and the high school. With that, I would like to move new business 1 through new business 16.
Second.
And with a motion and a second, Tom, whenever you're ready.
Ms. Bowes?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hise?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And with that, we'll thank everyone for coming out again, and we'll entertain the last motion of the evening.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.